Default is not illegal. If it were illegal, there'd be an awful lot of people in prison right now. Hello agents, and welcome to the 37th episode of the One Bite at a Time show. This is where I go out and find the most relevant information, the most important information you need right now in your business to make money and grow in 2023. I got my hat on today because you guys are seeing some real cold and snowy weather up there in Big Bear. I know we do a lot of business up in Big Bear, California, and there some areas up there got 7 or 8 feet of snow. Holy moly, I think that's a record. Anyway, you guys dig out while we're down here in the valley and making things right for you guys. So anyways, this is a searchable database that realtors can use to find information on a plethora of topics. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the due on sales clause, which can occur in the case where you transfer title but the underlying loan is still there. Happens, for example, in an all-inclusive trust deed, but it can happen in a lot of other instances as well, and you need to understand this because there's a lot of wrong information out there. And so today I want you to know more than your attorney knows, because the last time attorneys dealt with this subject, it was during the Jimmy Carter administration, and today they're all dead or retired. So understand, no more than your attorney knows. They also want to mention today, there's a mindset, a negative mindset out there that rates are up and people aren't buying. Well, that's baloney. People are buying homes. People are even refinancing homes. I'm busy. Mortgage insurance has dropped for FHA loans. Interest rates are where they are, but still the affordability index has gone up. We have a lot better situation than what people think. Don't get caught in this negative mindset. This is a good real estate time, and it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter during the rest of 2023. Partially because rates are going to go down during 2023. Over time, I think we're going to see that by the end of the year, but also partially because there's still a huge housing shortage. Don't forget there's an interest rate update at the very end of this show that's valuable to you. I'm going to share with you a 5-minute clip on the due on sales clause in the chapter 3 of the Alternative Purchase Options Workshop, which I had reviewed by John Giardinelli of the Giardinelli Law Group. So here you go. The note has a default clause that says if you transfer title, that is creating a default, and the lender has the ability, if they choose, to exercise their due on sales clause and threaten to foreclose. Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment. What is default? What is default? Most people don't know what default is. Well, first of all, we can say, we know for a fact that default is not illegal. If it were illegal, there'd be an awful lot of people in prison right now. So default is not illegal. Okay, you don't go to prison for it. You don't get a fine for it. The default is not illegal. Secondly, we can assume, we should know that default is not immoral. You're not going to go to hell if you commit default. It's not like committing adultery. It's not like committing murder, which would go to prison and hell. But nevertheless, I mean, default is not immoral. It doesn't violate God's laws, and it doesn't violate man's laws. So the next question is default poisonous? Is default somehow toxic? Are you going to get sick because of default? Let's review. It's not against God's laws, it's not against man's laws, and it's not toxic or poisonous. So the best way to explain this, and the way I've found to explain it, is by comparing the due on sales clause to a baby clause. Let's just say, for example, you have a brand new newborn baby, and you've just got married. I'm sure you remember maybe that in your life. Maybe you're too young for that, but maybe you remember that brand new beautiful little baby. And let's just say you want to buy a house, and I'm agreeing to do seller financing with you, and I decide I want to put a contract, something in the contract, a clause. I want a clause in my contract with you that says if you default, I get your baby. Well, I know that's kind of a crazy example, but it's a really good example. So let's just talk about that for a moment. If you default on the contract between you and I get the house back, but I also get your baby. That's what's in the clause. Now, the first question, is it legal? Is it legal for me to put that baby clause in the contract between you and I? Well, the answer is yes. You can put anything in a contract. There's no illegality problems with putting something in the contract. You can put anything you want in the contract. So that's great. Okay, so I can put that baby clause in the contract, and if you sign it, now it's a contract, and you agreed to give me your baby. So the next question I want to ask you, is it legal for
for me to activate my baby clause? In other words, if you default on the house and I take the house back, and I probably would, but would it be legal for me to activate my baby clause? Well, what does activation mean? Activation means just nothing more than me sending you a letter, maybe from an attorney, stating, okay, you defaulted, and under the terms of our agreement, it's all going to sound legal. It's going to look like it's going to be on legal document, and it's going to look like a real nasty gram. But I'm going to send you a letter that says, have an attorney send you a letter that says, okay, you defaulted, and under the terms of the contract, you have to give me your baby. So fess up, give me your baby. Is it legal for me to activate, send you a letter, or have an attorney send you a letter, my baby clause? Well, the answer is yes. There's no reason why I couldn't send you a letter and ask you for your baby based upon our contract. Okay, so the next question, next question is, what if, now I know that if you have older children, you might want to give them to me now, but when a brand new baby, beautiful baby boy or beautiful baby girl, what if you were willing to give me that baby? What if you were willing to do that? And is there a legal way that you could give up your parental rights and I could go get my license or get approved, however, to be able to adopt a baby? Is there a legal way for you to give up your parental rights and give me your baby? Sure, there's a legal way for that to happen. And so it's legal to put in the contract. It's legal for me to activate my baby clause, and it's legal for you to give me your baby if you're willing to do so. But the question is, what court in the land, in what court anywhere in the country would allow me to enforce my baby clause? What does that mean? In other words, could I hire a sheriff and come over to your house and get your baby? The answer is no. No court in the country would allow me to forcibly take your baby, irregardless of whether it's in a contract, you defaulted on the contract, or who I was or who you was. Nobody would allow that to happen. So the question is, let's just say that's occurred in the court system 1,000 times. How many times do you think that the court would have allowed that to happen? 0. All right, so let's look at the due on sales clause. This is exactly what the due on sales clause is. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not going to talk in absolutes, but I really hope that you will take on the challenge of finding me one instance anywhere in the country where a due on sales clause was enforced and there was no other default occurring, the payments were being paid, taxes were being paid, insurance was being paid, and the judge allowed the enforcement of the due on sales clause. I don't think you're going to find one. I haven't been able to find one.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Vintage Mortgage Firm / The One Bite at a Time Show, and also register for this show at the email that you got for this show. And I'll see you next week when we'll be back here again for the 38th episode of the One Bite at a Time Show.